Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and with OpTic confirming Prolute as the replacement for General in the starting team, at least for now. Scump's explained exactly why General could not be a solution for the short to medium term, and at least talked about the exact reasons behind his injury, and why it might take a little bit longer than initially anticipated to get right. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. We're on the verge of 78,000 subscribers, I believe. Absolutely love to see it. Plenty to dive into today. Firstly, we'll begin with some rostermania stuff. Just this from the Minnesota Rokkr actually, because Havok officially, arriving here in the facility. We were wondering after their very much lackluster performance at the Prime Classic whether Rokkr would decide to do anything, just because Havok was going to be there in the team regardless. Our understanding is that when they did the trials, it was Havok and Attack that were pretty much in every single trial that they did. And the other three guys, MajorManiak, Priestahh, and Standy, those are the ones going to thrown around us to be like, okay, what are the roles going to be here? Are Standy and Priestahh going to be the SMG duo? Is Standy going to be gone? Priestahh is going to be the SMG alongside Havok. Is MajorManiak going to be there as the AR? Now Priestah's the main AR. And honestly, I think the team that they went for in the end, the one without MajorManiak, in theory, had more pacing in the hardpoints. And in fairness, they did win game 1 hardpoint up against OpTic, but outside of that, their hardpoint still didn't look particularly good at all, and their respawns, left something to be desired, let's just say. And you definitely do lose some things when you get rid of MajorManiak. So I was wondering whether they would make some sort of moves here and put MajorManiak back in, maybe take Priestahh out or take Standy out or whatever you might want to do, because certainly those players so far this season probably underperformed, but apparently that's not going to be the case, as we shall see here in just a second. And maybe, of course, they could make changes over the coming weeks and, months, really. But everything is so compact now. We go here from the Prime Classic straight into Major 3 qualifiers, 3 weeks of that, then straight into the Major itself, and then there's a couple of weeks off for teams to make probably final changes before the run to Major 4 and the World Championship. This also, just to mention real quick, of course, a Singularity, who kind of run the Ultra Academy Europe. They've officially confirmed that Gizmo is going to join their team instead of Harry, who, of course, has gone the other way, and Rafi's no longer going to be there. Of course, he was the substitute that came in for the Prime Classic. This is then in the Challenger side, as we just saw from Europe, APAC as well, Shocks, Luca, and Fighter, legendary trio over there, no longer on Renegades, it seems. And then North America, this rather interesting StrikeX, he left that team to try and join at Brack, Neptune, and 2Real, with Bink then going the other way to StrikeX. But apparently Rambi's actually not on this team of 3 anymore, because, well, the 4th player on that team is actually going to be MajorManiak. So this rather interesting kind of confirms that, Minnesota Rokkr, for now at least, they're not making these moves that we might have expected them to try something. I wouldn't be surprised if MajorManiak finds his way back into the team at some point. He did say when he was initially dropped that he felt pretty disrespected by the organization, by, his team, by his teammates, for actually getting rid of him in this way, because, last year it was kind of a similar thing. He got benched for a while, then eventually was brought back in place of accuracy, and the team got better when they won Stage 5. So maybe they can try something similar here to get Attach his slice of the pie once again, but for now it seems he is still sitting here on the bench, right? And unless they've got any other options they want to bring into their starting team, Minnesota are probably going to keep their same roster going forwards, give it another trial run over the next couple of weeks, and if it doesn't work out, then they're going to have to change something, probably quite serious, and maybe bring MajorManiak back. Who knows? Some people say you just got to blow up this entire Minnesota Rokkr team, because on current pacing, they're probably not going to make the World Championship. They're certainly in the running to make it, but honestly, looking at the teams around them, I'm not sure they're going to make it this year, to be perfectly honest. Let's dive into this then on the OpTic front. Prolute says this, can't wait for the elite matches tonight, probably baiting about the fact that, I'm just staying in the Challenger side. Not the case at all. OpTic officially confirmed yesterday that, yes, Stage 3 roster update, iLLeY will be stepping out for the team, at least for now. The way Rambo describes it is quite interesting, just because it's kind of a short-term solution, he says, for the iLLeY issue. But that's the thing, iLLeY's been trying his best to get things ready to go, but at the same time, he's also been playing a little bit of Call of Duty here and there, and he plays for a couple of hours, and then, the thumb goes downhill and gets a bit worse, which is obviously frustrating Rambo and Hex. I'm sure they want this guy to not play any Call of Duty and get better as soon as he possibly can, but iLLeY's an absolute demon, right? He's going to get on the toy if he possibly can do, but maybe he's holding back his progress to some degree. So Rambo says, look, this is obviously a short-term solution with Prolute coming into the roster in place of iLLeY, but it's possibly something that could drag on for some time. And he also goes on to explain the reasoning behind this, generally a role-based issue. If it was Dashy that was out of the team and General was coming in, that might work out okay with iLLeY still on the roster, but as it is, Dashy and General pretty much playing the same role, it's not really going to work out with iLLeY out of the team. So I'll just show a little bit of what they have to say.
We have signed Prolute as a short-term substitute for Inder. He will come in, be in a position where he can better fit the role that is required to kind of fill in for Inder. We felt like Jordan played pretty well at the event, but there's a lot of things in the role sense that just kind of hurt the team flow. It's very difficult for us to play the fundamental game and the fluid movement that we do in a game as a team when we have two players playing kind of the same way, which is, again, Brandon and General. And we kind of knew that going in.
Let's start from the beginning. Obviously, we need to figure out what's up with iLLeY, right? Like every single time that iLLeY plays, he plays for a couple of hours, and then within those 3 hours, like the thumb starts bothering him again.
It's not an ideal situation.
Not ideal at all.
It's not. It was so different playing with Jordan just because, like, he's naturally not Ender's role.
He's
and
not
that's
Ender at all.
where people, like, fail to realize is that, like, Jordan and Brandon are both main ARs. So, like, for me and Ant, the pacing was so weird this weekend.
I felt so bad for Ant and Seth because
like it was so weird.
I mean, at least in Respawn and S&D, we can kind of make it work because, I mean, we have, like, good strats and stuff.
That's why I feel like
Wait, hold on. What were you saying?
I was just saying, because with Jordan, like the pacing felt incredibly, like, I felt like Ant and Seth were getting baited.
So, we went a collective 1-5 in respawns in the bracket. So that means, like I said in our post game interview against FaZe, I was like, our respawn is kind of like just because of natural pacing issues, and we're gonna have to like rely on our search to get us through. So going to the Thieves series, we don't win a single respawn, which we got one against FaZe somehow. But we don't win a single respawn against Thieves, and you know that's how it looks. But we 6-1 them in the search.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so if you got to game 5, you think
Jordan, like I respect Jordan because he tried to like mold his gameplay to fit our system.
Yeah, it's a hard situation.
And I guess I also showed that bit from Scump as well, where he was kind of explaining the role dynamic, right, and how, you know, General subbed in, it was good initially, or at least it was good that he, you know, tried his best. He tried to adapt his play style to the team, and yeah, they reckon, of course, they didn't really have much time to practice, which of course they didn't, but even then, they probably thought that, look, even if this is a longer term thing, and we bring General in for a few weeks here, it's probably not going to quite work out quite as well in that role as other players might do. So Prolute is the guy. He's played before. We looked at yesterday with iLLeY, with Dashy, with these guys in the past. Like, I wonder if iLLeY even had a pretty decent role to play in this and was like, look, Prolute, he can play my role, he can do a good job of it, he'll step into the team. Of course, you know, look, iLLeY's obviously an incredibly crucial factor to that OpTic team, but even with General, they still got some great results. Their search and destroy was fantastic. All they needed to do was win a respawn, and they were in a great position. So if they have a slightly better position there, and like maybe their search and destroy had been coming up really well with iLLeY in the last few weeks, and General, of course, being the substitute, I guess he was there and kind of, you know, often was maybe getting involved or looking at some of their practice when he was starting to develop these issues. So like he had a good idea of what their search and destroy game plan was going to be. So maybe if their search and destroy still remains great going into this upcoming weekend, and their respawn can improve to some degree with Prolute if the pacing's a little bit better and you get a bit more out of Dashy and shots that you weren't always getting in all the game modes this past weekend, and Scump as well for that matter, then all of a sudden if Prolute can do that iLLeY role and maximize how much his teammates are performing, I suppose, almost to a kismet in that sense, albeit in a slightly different role for the subliners, then this team, you know, has of course potential to do massive things. You've still got a monstrous amount of talent on this roster, even with iLLeY on the bench, but you just need to make sure all the pieces are firing in time, which is kind of what Scump was getting at right there. And as well, Scump says himself, super tough situation, really hoping to make the best of it, wishing my brother iLLeY a speedy recovery, welcome Prolute to the starting roster until Inder is fully healed. That's the thing, like as we've kind of said the last few days, it's not just about Inder being like 99% ready to go, he's got to be 100%, because if you're putting in all this time to practice and scrims and search and destroy stuff and all this type of stuff, like you need to be working at 100% capacity, that you know, iLLeY of course is not as of yet. And I wanted to share this actually real quick. An awesome video comes out actually from Hex, the vlog, where he gives like the chains and stuff to the guys. Thought this is really cool. India, like super humble guy, like really appreciative. I thought this is like, you know, heartwarming moment for sure. But just before this, he mentions like what's been going wrong with his thumb. He got back from the event and having not really played at all, like he hopped on for a couple of hours and it wasn't really hurting. He was like, okay, wow, this is fantastic. Like I might be back in business, baby. But as it turns out, after a few hours of playing, the pain starts to come back and start developing again, which is the issue. Like, you know, it might well take a few weeks. Who knows how long it's going to take for this to heal up properly. But this kind of like pimple on his thumb that was like infected or whatever, like they reckon it can fix in a couple of weeks. But if he's pushing it a bit too hard, it's only going to kind of set back and delay his progress, right? Which is kind of course, what Hex and Rab have been kind of frustrated about. So he's going to have to sit back and relax for at least a week or 2 weeks or whatever and really not do anything to like, well, to hope that when he does hop in again in a couple of weeks' time, then it's back to go. And probably Prolute's going to be in this team on this evidence at least for at least a couple of weekends.
Yo, okay, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Been better.
Show me. Like point the thing like this.
Like nah, but basically my mom so what happens is like when I came back from like the event,
yeah,
like I chilled for like a couple of days and I started playing and like the pain was literally gone. Like I was actually so happy at night. I'm like, I bet like I'm back. Like that's it. And then the more I played, the more it just like comes back.
Yeah, please stop playing. Don't. If I see, I'm gonna tell you one thing. As your friend, if I see you touching a controller, I'm gonna be mad at you.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna hit your thumb.
Yeah. Nah.
I
already talked to like Ray and everything about it. Like I'm done.
Okay. Good. We need you back ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just heal up. Look,
Trying to be back.
Not your fault. No one's fault. that happens in life.
So as iLLeY says to Prolute himself, wish you luck, I already know you're going to kill it. No one deserves this more than you, thank you, brother. So thought it was really cool between the guys, of course, and even as Doug Center Martin says, I'm glad OpTic picked up Prolute as their new starter. Since the beginning, he's always been a hard worker. His will to win is inspiring, so definitely getting a lot of gas from around the community. We'll see if it works out for them, of course, from their starting team. Of course, for now, they do hope that iLLeY can be back in due course, but it's by no means guaranteed that he's going to be back in, well, next weekend or the weekend after. And of course, if you've played with Prolute for all 3 weekends of the qualifiers, do you want to bring iLLeY back for the major? It depends on the results you've had, right? And especially if you haven't, let's say you're under practice with iLLeY for a few weeks, then you go to the major. There's so many questions, of course, and implications that come as a result of this one. This also was rather interesting because there was some talk from Scrappy, of course, from the Ultra side. Of course, a very fast-paced AR player could maybe have fit that flex role. Do wonder if that could have worked out for them. And some people have said that if Scrappy hadn't signed the contract he did with Ultra, of course, because he was over there on the Ultra Academy, and an Ultra like, okay, look, we want to bring you on as an official substitute to our team, like sign you on, give you the money or whatever. And he was like, look, okay, I'll lock in. Now, if he hadn't have done that, if he delayed a little bit, would another option have come on the table like the OpTic one? Like, as Scrappy says, Jesus Christ, I would have you guys. And Scump's kind of laughing in the replies right here. So maybe Scrappy was an option for consideration, but given the history that Prolute, iLLeY, and Dashy have, probably that was the way they were going to go regardless. But intriguing your perspective in the comment section below. Wanted to look at this as well. Then, of course, these are the stats from the Pro-Am Classic. This is just including the final 4 series they played, the ones where, of course, iLLeY played in that first series. These are the ones that, of course, just general played in. And as you can see, their search and destroy was pretty spectacular. I mean, Shotzi had a 34% first blood rate, which is completely absurd. Dashy had 12.8%. That is actually just the most ridiculous stat line I might have ever seen. And he's got a 1.32 KD as well. Donald with a 0.74, Scump with a 0.94, doing whatever. But in search and destroy, they were having pretty good success. They won the majority of their search and destroy maps at the event. But it was the respawns that were kind of surprising, right? And Scump and Dashy was actually kind of saying right there that Scump and Shotzi were just getting hard baited because Dashy in general playing a slightly slower role. We look at the hard points right here. Dashy's got a 1.25, Donald's got a 0.94, but Shotzi with a 0.85 and Scump with a 0.97. Usually those aren't the numbers you expect to see. Even Shotzi's kills per minute's way below what you might expect it to be as well. So that was kind of the thing, that it felt like with general there in the team, it was either hurting Dashy or it was hurting the SMGs, which we kind of see in the control. So it's really interesting how the kind of dynamic played out there. But they reckon that just someone who can play that kind of slightly faster paced role that iLLeY plays as opposed to general is going to be better suited to making this team work, because in the hard points it was Shotzi and Scump kind of left out to dry, you could well argue, by the assault rifles in the back lines. And that's maybe why Shotzi was struggling statistically so much in this tournament, at least in the respawns. This certainly has not been the case when they've had iLLeY in their roster. And then we look at the control, it's actually Dashy with a 0.74 in control, 13 kills per 10 minutes. You rarely ever see that at all. Dashy is is his best game mode, right? Control, he's absolutely absurd at. He's been dropping 1.5s on Tuscan control all season long, to be honest. And then he comes into this event, and of course they go 1-3 at control, and they look pretty lackluster, to be honest. Actually, if you look at the respawns here, they're 3-3 and 8 the weekend in respawns, 4-1 in search and destroys. So definitely shows that the respawns were not going to cut it with general. They need to make some sort of move. Is Prolute going to be the play though? I suppose we shall just have to wait and see. But this came out yesterday from CDL Scrim. Not sure how he got this information, but he has people that tell him some sort of stuff. And apparently they only dropped 1 map in scrims today or yesterday versus the Toronto Ultra. So I guess that'd be one set of hard points, 1 set of controls. So 4 maps plus 3, probably 7 maps. So probably went 6-1 in map count. Maybe they played search and destroys as well. Who knows? But OpTic probably went 5-2, 6-1 or something map count up against Toronto Ultra. Of course, Toronto looked pretty damn good just a few days ago at the Pro-Am Classic. So pretty impressive result. If that is the case, they come in with Prolute, do their first couple of days of practice and start looking good. Of course, that's the respawns, right, that they play in these scrims, which of course it is absolutely critical if they want to get back to a point of actually putting some points on the board, because look, as I said yesterday, the seeding is important right here. Yes, they're going to qualify for champs, but you want to get the most points you possibly can and also get the best seeding you can for the major to put yourselves in the best position to actually do something when iLLeY does make his return, which hopefully will happen sooner rather than later. A couple of things just to finish out with here. Actually, a few people were talking about this from Drazah and Ryan, back in the day, some interesting tweets, as he says. Someone actually found this up and they're joking around, and he says on the 19th of September 2018, haha, and Prolute will be playing for OpTic. Turns out that's exactly the case just a few years later. And just to mention this as we close out the video, Bryce Tacular says the following: I'll be casting Challengers Elite this season as well. Apparently he's going to be doing both, so we're not losing Bryce from the mainstream and Ton from the mainstream, but Bryce is an absolute maniac. He's going to do both Challengers and the mainstream as well. But again, very much enjoyed your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on a like button, tell us your YouTube gods, this is a good video, and I was like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you much as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.